Hey everyone, before we dive right into the action, I wanted to let you know that I stream these things on Twitch, and if you wanna hang out with me while I'm live, you can follow the channel, will be the first link in the description. So against d4, could start with knight f6, but in this series we're just starting with g6, bishop g7 against anything basically. And this also gives opponents the choice to play e4 and get back into like a modern or a Pirc, however you want to call it. For the sake of simplicity, I'm just calling it a King's Indian against everything. And when they do this setup, instead of going for like the traditional Pirc or modern, I actually like to play with c6, with the idea to go for d5. And after this move, we could be potentially getting into structures that are, let's say, similar for the Caro-Kann. And that's going to be making it much easier to learn for those of you that have watched the Caro-Kann rating climb already. And after knight c3, just gonna be going with d5, idea to take on e4, and after knight takes, gonna be playing with knight f6. And in case they trade, just wanted to take back with opponent, get something super similar to the Tartakower structure. And when they do bishop f4, that doesn't really stop me from doing it. In this position, the subtle h3 is known to be as one of the main moves. It's just a sort of a non-committal useful move for white, taking away bishop g4 ideas that are like pretty common for this structure. And against h3, I would have gone d followed by knight f6 and taking with a pawn. And when they do bishop f4, I think you can just take and play knight f6. And after they take, we could potentially just take it with a bishop and argue that bishop h6 is no longer dangerous as they have lost the tempo compared to the normal h3 lines. But I think I'm gonna take with a pawn anyways, just avoiding bishop h6 by any means and getting into a pawn structure that is really similar to what we have seen in the Caro-Kann rating climb. And it's also like pretty easy to play. Our king will be like super safe in general and just have some easy useful moves to make, like castling, developing the bishop to like either g4 or like e6 depending on the situation. Okay, against e2 I think, or just castle, and I think rook e8 is super useful move, just placing the rook on the semi-open file. And now bishop g4 would be less effective because they could just play h3. And giving up the bishop pair for free is not what the doctor ordered in this position. So could either do bishop e6 or could start knight d7. I think knight d7 is perhaps a little bit more flexible. Could also do bishop e6. Yeah, I think I'll start with knight d7 simply. And then bishop d3. Perhaps just play knight f8. Those are like the options that I'm considering. Yeah, just bring the knight to f8. I think that's like pretty typical for the structure. They're playing with c4, which is yeah, like a common idea, but in some positions the d4 pawn could be potentially a bit weak, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. And also rook e4 looks active, but I don't think we really gain much with that, so just looks active, but I think it's a bit pointless. So just gonna do knight f8 and then have ideas to either develop to f5 or to e6, or potentially just play knight e6. So okay, opponent going super aggressive with this d5 push. I'm actually not super sure how to react against this. If I take, I think that will really help my opponent because we're opening lines for his pieces. So I would like really try to block things here with c5. And okay, if they're playing d6, I think that's just a bit too weakening, and I think with c5 we managed to set up like pretty decent blockade it looks. And one of the plans would be to go g5 followed by knight g6. Okay, queen a4 actually is a bit of a strange looking move. Not sure what that's supposed to achieve. And okay, if I go g5, bishop e3, can play b6. I think that's like pretty safe. Could also start with b6 right away. I think we go for the direct g5. G5, is there any bishop c7 funny line? Like queen takes and then he collects my rook. Bishop c7 is a bit annoying because it's forcing an endgame, so I don't want to allow that. I think I'll just could do b6 anyways. Or start bishop d7. Many tempting options. I think I'll just do the bishop d7 thing. I don't want to allow that thingy where they're forcing the endgame. So basically, in these lines, trading queens is, I would say, pretty dangerous, especially when they have the protected passed pawn. So I think now just going b6 is fine. Could also play queen c8. Queen c8 could be actually pretty clever because if they end up playing h3, we could sack. So actually both moves make decent sense. I think I'll do this because b6, it allows him to play a4, a5. So yeah, just kind of trying to avoid that and preparing g5, knight g6 next. Just trying to activate the knight this way. Could potentially also go full kingside play mode. We like g4, h5 and so on. Okay, we see rook d1. Just gonna continue. g5. I announced this move like ages ago, so have to play it finally. And then gonna bring the knight towards g6. This is like a pretty nice maneuver. The knight is gonna be pretty annoying for my opponent's king, I would say. And then we could also keep expanding. It really depends. I think you should keep the bishop on this diagonal or maybe to c1. This would be like a nice move after rook d1. But now I think on g3 can actually be pretty problematic because the bishop could potentially become a target. So I could start with this right away. Or I could play knight g6. I feel like knight g6 is never a bad move. So I'm gonna start with that. And next up, this is, I would say, pretty big positional threat. So maybe knight d2 move is required, controlling that square. I've actually perhaps a bit underestimated knight d2, but maybe we still have like a good move with f5. Idea to go f4. So from that perspective, maybe it would have been a bit more precise to do this. Making sure that we get the h-pawn push, but okay, I think knight g6 is also supernatural and should be a decent move. And yeah, he finds knight d2. That's a good find by my opponent. Could actually just go g4. Idea to play h5, h4, and doesn't have like an easy way to deal with it. But I feel like f5 is even more annoying. Like f5, he'll have to play like bishop d6. And not sure we have a good move there. He manages to escape with a bishop, and I don't see how we attack it immediately. That could be a bit annoying, but I think f5, bishop d6, maybe just continue with f4. Just focus on the kingside play. Try to ignore it for now. Okay, f3 I think is definitely an inaccuracy because it just allows me to sort of lock his bishop sort of inside the pawn chain. It's not like a pawn chain, but kind of keeping his bishop passive while on d6 it would have been more active. So even throwing in this check looks very juicy. Kind of forcing bishop f2, and then we play queen c7. I think that's very tempting. And if he goes king h1, we straight up win a piece with f4. So yeah. Sadly he blunders, but I think we're already getting into the driver's seat after we managed to get the pawn push. So anyways, credits to him for finding knight d2. Going bishop d6 was not like an easy move there. So problem is that, yeah, he's simply getting trapped. And like knight e4 doesn't really help because we take and knight f6 is not a thing because the bishop covers it. So I think he's literally losing the piece now and don't even get to show like how effective the attack could have been because we're just winning material. But pretty sure we're gonna get a lot of these in like the upcoming games as well. So okay, against these I think just cash in the piece. So he takes on d4. I forgot about this detail, but I don't think it like really changes much. It's basically just a trade after I play king g7 and he takes on e8, I take with a queen. Basically like nothing has changed. and I'm still like up a piece, so everything is under control. I don't really mind queen b7 because we have rook b8 activating, taking b2, and now it's just time to go for exchanges. I was thinking queen e3, but maybe knight f4 is even more powerful, forcing queen e2 and then queen e3. Queen e2 gh2 also. Oh, knight f4, he just takes on d4 with check. What am I saying? Gosh, that would have been awful. Yeah, I could just do queen e3. Okay, I think for sake of simplicity, gonna be doing that. Just trading queens, and he still has these pawns that are a bit annoying, but shouldn't be any like realistic problems. And could actually go queen f2, hitting pawn on g3 as well, but guess we're just like keeping it super safe. Just trading, playing rook e8, bringing the rook into the game, and yeah, from this point, basically just trying to trade the rooks as well. So okay, rook d1. You can play knight e5, threatening to change more pieces. Could take pawn on c4, just do f5, get rid of this. They have to, yeah, step back, and I could take, could also do d3, but I think taking is like easiest. And so they take. I think throwing in this check can be pretty sweet, and then play like knight e3, threatening knight f1 ideas and hitting the bishop. So like bishop b3 only move, and against that I think something pretty annoying is to pin them, and while literally has like no moves, it's basically a zugzwang. Just gonna do, yeah, like sort of a waiting game, king f6, and basically just try to make him run out of moves. It's a pretty funny scenario. Opponent cannot unpin. Yeah, and he just drops the piece now. Gonna be taking it, and I think can just go for the mating net, honestly. We don't care about the bishop. We should keep it, but for content, can just go for the mating net, I think. He can have the bishop. It's just gonna be a forced checkmate as far as I can see. I don't see him really stopping this as long as there's any weird stalemate, but there doesn't seem to be one, and this should be a checkmate, and we managed to get this one in. Thanks a lot for making it this far into the video, and in case you're looking for more episodes from the same series, make sure to click one of the videos that will appear on the screen. So with that being said, I'd like to thank you for watching, and I'll see you around on the channel. Take care.